And we're back. Welcome to another segment of Tanner's Terp Tasting. I'm here with Steve.
What's up, Tanner?
So excited to be here. Back at the Dabbler Depot, ready to do some terp tasting.
So, like some dabs?
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do. Now, this is a jar that I got actually just very recently here. Shout out to Candy Cuts. I was at a sesh that they were hosting, and they had some T.Squisher jars and had to pick this one up. Anytime I see that word sour at the beginning of a cultivar name, I know it's probably going to be something I like.
Candy Cuts is OG.
Yeah, for sure.
They know what they're doing. I'm glad to hear it. So this is like brand new. You just grabbed on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just grabbed there. It was cool walking in and having people be like, oh, hey, Tanner from Northern Lights. And like,
yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. So thanks for watching. But
you've been holding it down. We're on episode 10.
Oh, we're crushing it through season 2.
You're 10 for 10.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at the jar. We're going to be tasting the terps. We're going to be just ranking what we think of it. Now, we have a very complicated proprietary ranking system here that we are ranking it on the token system. So 0 through 10. I've not done a 0 dab yet, but we keep trying.
Last one came in between like 7 and 8.
Yeah, right at that 7.5 mark. We actually got that jar still here. So now we're here for terp tasting number 2. So let's first start by talking about the outside of the jar. This is T.Squisher, not a local brand here in Minnesota, but one that's become pretty well known. They've got that Grateful Dead heady right on the top of the jar. In fact, let's go ahead and hold up the jar here so we can get that shot. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Beautiful artwork on the outside of this. Very much Grateful Dead inspired. You can tell not only because of the Grateful Dead Steely right on the top of it, but also because of the artwork all around. It just very much gives me the vibes of like a 1970s jam band concert, and they weren't ripping dabs at those concerts, that's for sure, but we're going to be doing that today.
Dabs came about like throughout recent history, right?
Yeah, for sure. So cannabis concentrates go back a super long time. I mean, people have been making hash for centuries, but the modern invention of rosin, you can sort of trace back to like the 1970s. Pretty accidental invention. In fact, there's a great story of people trying to vacuum seal a bunch of weed, getting weed stuck in between the hot press of that. Suddenly you have hot oil coming out. People were, putting it into bowls. And then the early days. Today we've come so far, so I'm excited to have this jar with us.
Yeah, I mean, I've known you for a number of years. I probably could have assumed you were a Grateful Dead fan, but it's through this podcast that I've learned like you really have an affinity for the Grateful Dead. R.I.P. We just lost a original member of the Dead.
Absolutely, yeah. Rest in peace, Phil. They're incredible bass player. So we'll do some dabs for Phil today. We'll just rip them hard.
And I want to say, also learning through the podcast, you're a big papaya fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So papaya is one of those cultivars that's become really well known in the concentrate community. A, because it has a really unique terp profile. People like sort of that fruity, tropical flavor. But also because it's a dumper. You know, you grow a bunch of weed, and if you go and wash it, sometimes the end result is just a really low yield. Just because of the genetics.
Right.
Papaya is one that is just known to be a little bit on that heavier side. So it's become pretty well known. And that sour twist to it, I really, really love.
Word.
So we're going to be... let's bust into it. So I'll let you go ahead and open up that jar. Okay. We're gonna start by just talking about what we think of the smell. The outside of the jar is cool, but we're here really for what's on the inside. What do you think of that like initial whiff off the jar now that's open?
It smells like barf.
Okay, there we go. Yep, and that's that sour, almost rancid elements of it coming through.
Mixed with like something that I don't love seeing on the street when you walk by and it's like, oh, that looks like dog.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pineapple, papaya elements of it, sort of with that sour, blend together to be like a little bit urine-y. Like, I don't know. Sometimes people like those terps, and I'm so excited to bring that in to share with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some background. Sour Papaya is a cross between Citral 13 and Ice number 2. It gives it that slightly sour, very tropical notes that we were just smelling on, and that we're gonna do a dab of here.
So when you cross two strains, you can take strain 1 and strain 2. You don't have to make it like strain 1 plus strain 2 as the name. You can multiply the two crosses and create a third name.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's sort of where some of the art, the fun comes in of creating the names is, sometimes you get two crosses that come together that just create something brand new. In fact, sometimes names of cultivars are actually the names of just one specific cut. Like Super Boof becomes super popular recently. Not actually its own cultivar. Super Boof is just a cut of blackberry. And so it's fun to dig into the deep. But let's try some sour
Where would
papaya.
we be without our growers?
Right. No, last week we tried the Ope solventless. That jar was almost empty by the time that we tried it. Yep. This one, I was really good. I only opened it and took a little bit of a smell first. So this is my first time that we get to dab it up. I'm excited for us to really jump into this. It's got great texture.
And let's just give a big thanks to the Dabbler Depot for allowing us to dab it up during Tanner's terpene tasting sesh.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to
Dabbler Depot. Shout out to Puffco.
Yeah.
You can find all these things here, minus the dab.
Yeah. Yeah, so for those listening along to the audio version, let's explain about what we're doing. We just used our hot knife to load a dab of this sour papaya into our Puffco. We're going to be heating that up here. Shout out low temp dabs, Gotta love keeping it at temp.
Right.
And then also for all of our ASMR fans, we're going to be doing that dab real close to the microphone.
Okay.
ASMR fans, please write in. We got to know that you're out there. We'll keep doing this, though, so. There you go, my friend.
Thank you, Tanner. I will make sure to ASMR this.
That is offensive.
Whoa.
Yeah. So excited to bring in anything with that sour background of this, and this is sour.
It's sour in the mouth, but it also conquers the eyes right away. It's pushing on that eye pressure right away. That's how you know it's a strong dab.
Oh yeah.
And then the lung, the lung feel, the eye feel, the mouth feel. That it's so interesting, consuming concentrates and consuming high grade cannabis, because it's sensory overload at times. It hits you in multiple places: nose, mouth, chest, eyes.
Oh yeah, I remember back in the early days of me getting into concentrates when I thought hot dabs were the way to go. I was like, wow, dabs just make me sweat so much. It's all over my body.
Yes.
And then I learned it was doing dabs at 700 degrees that makes your whole body sweat. So Puffco helps a little bit with that, that's for sure.
Okay.
All right, so now comes, we've done the dab, we've done the tasting. Now we're going to do the Q-tip test. You can tell a lot about the quality of rosin by looking at what actually is left behind when you're doing that dab. So we've got our Q-tip here.
This is residue left over?
Yeah, so it's little bits of oil, little bits of, maybe little bits of burnt material in that. That comes from having tiny, tiny particles of the plant still left in there. Comes from making hash, it's not anything super terrible. This actually isn't super dark, and we put a pretty big size dab in there. So not anything that's super bad.
Thanks, Tanner.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Thank you. So now comes the sort of the tricky part. We've done the dab, we've looked at the jar, we've done the smelling, the tasting. We've said, yeah, that's funky. But now we got to rank it. We've got our 10-point scale. Where are we going to put this jar? Steve, you had to rank this on our token scale. How many tokens are you giving this today?
I'm giving 2 tokens to 4 people. I'm giving this an 8.
All right. An 8. I love that. Yeah, I think I got to agree with you. I'm going in exactly at that 8.2. I think the sour notes of this are truly pungent. Yes, a little bit on that nose, but really, really on the tongue. So I'm stoked about this one. Steve, well, thanks so much for joining for that dab here. Shout out to T.Squisher for the incredible jar. Shout out to Candy Cuts for helping to make this all happen. If you guys have tried this, definitely drop in the comments below. What do you think of it? Was this something that you thought was nice and sour, or a bit too sour? Or if you have some suggestions on other things we should try on this show, drop that as well, or slide into my DMs. We always are loving to try new things on Tanner's Terp Tasting. So thanks for coming for another segment, and we'll be right back.